Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Urben and I'm a horticulturist at the Missouri Botanical Garden. I'm in my garden today and I'm going to be talking to you about starting seeds indoors. So starting seeds can be a really fun activity to do at home. It's pretty easy as long as you know just a few simple tricks. There are so many different seeds you can try. Zinnias, marigolds, sunflowers are really easy to grow. They're larger seeds, they're easy to sow. If edibles are your thing, then lettuce, tomatoes, peppers are really good places to start. So we'll just jump right into it. The first thing you want to do is you want to get yourself a seed tray like this and start with a clean, sterile seed starting mix, which you can get at any garden center or Home Depot or Lowe's, and they'll carry that too. And I always try to moisten it before I use it, because sometimes the seed mixes can be really high in peat and they're hard to re-wet, so I usually moisten them before I put them into the flat. And then I just take some soil and I fill the flat all the way up to the top. So I spread it around, fill all the little holes in the cells in the flat. And then when it's overfilled, I give it a few taps on the bench or table that I have it on, and I fill up. It's just so that I'm settling the soil a little bit, so that your soil is really deep and holds a lot of moisture for the developing seeds. Then you're ready to go. So now we're into the shed, and I've filled the tray. We're ready to go for sowing seeds. The first thing I do is I dibble the tray, and dibbling, all I'm doing is I usually take my fingers, but you can use a pencil if you want, whatever works best for you. And I'm very gently just indenting the soil, and I'm just making a little bed for the seeds, if you will. And the general rule of thumb for this is twice the diameter of the seed is how deep you want them to be in the soil. So just base it on the size of the seed. Today we're sowing French marigold, which is a larger, kind of long, narrow seed, so it can be a little bit deeper. Marigolds are really easy to grow from seeds, so it should be fairly simple. Happy with that. So now I have my seeder, which I put all the seed in. It's a really handy tool. You can pick this up at a garden center or at some of the box stores you can find it. You can also just use your fingers if the seed is large enough. So I'm just tapping the seed, and it comes down the little chute. And I'm putting 1 to 2 seeds per cell. You don't really need more than that, because otherwise you'll have a forest of seeds you'll have to thin out. And the seeds need their own space. They need their own light and moisture. See, I got a few too many in that cell, so I'm just going to just very carefully put them in the next few and move on. And that's really all there is to sowing. So now our seeds are sown, so the next step we have to do is cover the seeds. I typically use vermiculite. Vermiculite is a rock that's been heated up to a really high temperature and expanded, and it makes it really great covering for seeds because it helps hold moisture and keep the seeds moist while they're germinating. There are some seeds, however, though, like lettuce and other types, that don't like to be covered. They need light for germination. But for these, we're going to cover them. And all you'd really do is you just take a little bit of vermiculite and just kind of barely cover them like so. I'm just kind of just barely covering them with a little bit of the vermiculite. That's really all there is to it. So now our seeds are covered, so the next step is just to water or mist our seeds. So you really want a nice fine spray. You don't want to use like a watering can with really large coarse droplets, which will displace the seeds and they'll scatter all over. You really want a fine mist. So I like to use a pump sprayer like this with a fine spray on it. You could also use a mist nozzle attached to a garden hose, which will work too. But this is really handy if you want to use something indoors. So I pump it a few times and then I just kind of lightly go over the top of the seeds. And I'm just kind of lightly misting them, trying to wet the vermiculite and make sure that they're the seeds are nice, good contact with the soil. And remember, the soil mix should already be pre-moistened, so the soil mix underneath the seeds should be already pretty moist. So now our seedlings are covered, we misted them. The next step I would recommend is putting on a humidity dome. You can get these at most home improvement stores or gardening stores will have them. It's really a great thing to have to put over top of them to help keep the seeds moist while they germinate. You can also use a trash bag. That'll work just fine for putting it over. You're just going to keep it on there until they germinate and just keep a close eye on that. And once they germinate, you're going to want to take this off and then expose them to a really good lighting. So sunny window, grow light works really well for this. And then you're going to also put a small fan on them because to help move that and circulate that air, because what will happen if you don't is you can run into a problem with damping off, which is a fungal disease. It kills small seedlings. Usually it happens when the air is stagnant or if you overwater, so watch your watering on them too. So now our seeds have germinated. You can see on here we have our seed leaves and then our new true leaves are forming, so that's what we're looking for. At this point, I would say it's a good idea to transplant them into larger pots if you want a larger finished plant to put in your garden. Otherwise, it's also a really great time to start fertilizing them. I usually use a half rate or a dilute rate of general purpose fertilizer and fertilize them that way. I also would say it's a good time to start hardening them off. So hardening off is a process where you're putting them outside for 2-3 hours at a time each day to expose them to higher light conditions and to outdoor growing conditions. And you usually do that for about 7-10 days on average. And then once the plants are acclimated to outdoor conditions, then you can think about planting them outdoors if there's the finished size you want, and if the night temperatures are warm enough, say 55 degrees or higher. It's a really general guideline to go with. And like I said, these are just general guidelines. I recommend following the seed package you got the seeds from, as they'll have the best information for germination and general growing information. I also recommend checking out the Kemper Center's website for a great visual guide on growing seeds indoors. So with that, I wish you the best in your seed starting adventures. Have fun!